What's up, guys? Hope you all are doing great. Today's video is all about the Yamaha Banshee. Now, this is my third Banshee build. This is a 2004, but realistically, it's a 2023 Banshee build. It's a nut and bolt restoration. Everything has been changed. OEM arms, lots of cool OEM components, OEM throttle, OEM everything, even OEM brakes, new brakes, by the way, new brake lines, refreshed brakes, completely redone with the pistons and the rubbers and seals and everything. But today, just going to be talking about the installation, and I kind of fast forwarded to, I want to say, my 80% completion, where the engine is ready to be bolted back onto the bike, and or the quad, as most people would say. But yeah, this engine really has turned out to be an absolute beauty, and this bike is going to be an absolute weapon, because this is not a big bore kit, but this is a mix and match of, in my opinion, what are the best manufacturers for engine parts. And like, you know, Redline Racing, you have BP Racing, you have Mac Daddy Racing, you have Pro Design, Mod Quad, just a ton of awesome parts that have gone into this. And these, like I said, aren't the big bore cylinders, but they have been bored, I want to say, to around 360cc, but also the honing and the porting inside this cylinder head is just absolutely beautiful. It's custom porting, work of art. Also, I forgot to mention that this has a lot of Race Tech titanium bolts on it, as well as the Banshee itself. It has some Race Tech titanium bolts. But yeah, just absolutely amazed how this thing turned out. Really beautiful. And as always with my Banshee engines, I will only use the best, you know, two-stroke oil. In my opinion, this is the best. I use, sometimes I use the Motul engine oil, but to start the break-in process, I just use the Yamalube. I love this Evans waterless coolant on two-stroke engines. I don't really recommend it on the four-stroke stuff, because in my opinion, it just doesn't really make a difference. But on the two-stroke stuff, it definitely keeps your running temperatures down. I always run a tachometer on my Banshees. I kind of hide it so you don't really see it. I don't like these big, you know, tachometers. Like, I love Trail Tech, but I just don't like how they stick out. Anyways, yeah, and also I have the NGK Ardium spark plugs I like to use. I like to use the leaded octane. I don't have the leaded right now, so I'll just start it off with the unleaded. But from what I was told from most of the experienced guys, is running these engines with leaded fuel keeps the running temperatures down. So I like to use leaded fuel mixed with the two-stroke oil. And when I can, I like to, when I can't buy the race fuel, like the Sunoco race fuel or the VP Racing race fuel, if I'm limited to it, I'll always get ethanol-free fuel, and I'll put leaded octane in it. But once in a while, you know, I don't always drive the Banshee, because it's like a supermodel, this bike. You know, I don't drive it all the time. I don't beat on it. Even though it's meant to be beaten on, I have my personal one, which I beat on. This is just another build that I'm making, which I'm not really going to drive so much, but still, it's built to be absolutely reliable. One thing I will say, because there's a lot of misconception about big bore kits and the 421s and the 392 and all that stuff. When you build a Banshee engine that's running perfectly with OEM components and stuff like that, and you have a 421 motor that's not done correctly, not jetted correctly with the carburetors, a small bore engine would absolutely blow the 421 if it's done correctly. Of course, the 421, if it's also done correctly, it'll blow the stock engine away, or the little slightly modified engines away. But again, it's how you build these things, it's how you set them up. As you'll see in the video later on, we did the leak down test, we did everything. Everything was spotless with this build. Really, it's been perfect. One thing I did on the case as well, I changed these rubber housings underneath the spacers. So all this has been changed to brand new rubbers, so no more vibration. Really, a lot of work went into this this bike. Also, I like the Mac Daddy Racing clutch. I have 3 EBC high performance clutch springs and 3 OEM, because I like to mix and match. I like to put 3, and I noticed, you know, a lot of people even on YouTube and stuff like that, they do that. They mix and match, because I don't have too much hardcore power where I want the clutch to be too stiff. But yeah, just lovely look, I think, of this engine. I like these stator covers, because when you want to access the the sprocket or something like that, you don't need to take the whole thing off. Or even when you want to access the stator, you don't need to take the whole thing off. It's 3 bolts for the stator and 3 bolts for the sprocket here, the front sprocket. Again, mod quad, you know, Kickstarter mod quad shifter, V-Force 4 reeds, the carbon fiber ones, custom intake as well with titanium bolts. Yeah, that's just a beauty to look at. I love looking at these 2-stroke engines with the expansion chamber, and it's really going to look good on the bike. But most importantly, with the Banshee engine, I just like to use high quality components, which these things are. And you know, when I leave the bike for a while and I don't run it and it has fuel in it, sometimes I like to use this additive. This is not for consistent use. Everything here is for consistent use, and I use the OEM brake fluid for the brakes. And yeah, as I was saying, you just use this every once in a while. It kind of cleans all the debris. If there's any dirt, anything like that, it cleans the carburetors, cleans the engine. It's actually pretty healthy for the engine. And you can use it on 2-stroke or 4-stroke. I use it on all my bikes that have been sitting for a while. So yeah, this bike really will be in tip-top shape when it's done. And I love the fact that I have a Banshee that's widened and that's gone full Elka suspension, full everything, and a modified engine, big bore, all that stuff. But then you have this pure gem of an OEM, basically, bike. Yes, the bumper is not OEM and some of the plastics, but some of the plastics are. I have another set of plastics that are OEM. Just absolutely beautiful. We'll take a look at it quickly before I install the rest of the stuff. But yeah, like I said, absolute nut and bolt restoration. These are not restored suspension. This is the OEM suspension that's been there. OEM A-arms, OEM everything on this bike. Even the OEM radiator, OEM brakes, tie rods. And yeah, like I said, they're not new looking from here, but everything has been new. The Banshee kind of looks really special when it's not widened and when it does have the OEM A-arms. So the fact that this bike is in absolutely mint OEM condition with the title number, with the VIN number and the title number and everything intact, just makes it even more special with the custom, you know, light covers. Even the lights, which I like the fact that everything here is genuine, like Yamaha stamped. The wheels and tires are also stamped Yamaha, and they're going to go back on there. So it's just a very special bike that I'm excited to share with you guys. But yeah, I've been working on this for some time, and hopefully now the install process, the final part of it, is going to be absolutely fantastic and will go smoothly. So we'll keep you posted from there. Well, it's been like this for almost 30 minutes. And just to double check, because sometimes I don't trust these, you know, gauges. They're iffy. I use the other valve with another gauge. This is just a normal tire pressure gauge for like a dirt bike or an ATV. And you go in, and there you go, reading the same amount. So we have no leaks. I sprayed it top to bottom. Perfect. Good to go. Iridium spark plugs, ready to go. I just really love the way this bike turned out, or this quad turned out. The engine is absolutely beautiful, and I love, similar to the stock bore setup, I love it when it's done right. It drives absolutely beautiful. The suspension here, yeah, it's stock shocks. I have different shocks. I have Vito's shocks that are looking like they're brand new, but the OEM shocks, I wanted, like I said, to keep it OEM. Even the chain here is the OEM from Japan, as well as the sprocket front and rear. So that's something that's really nice. Yeah, it's just turned out to be a really cool build. It's got the Denso ignition, which is pretty great because the cheap stuff, yeah, you can see right there, it's denso because the other shit doesn't really work well. I mean, you can get away with using a good aftermarket flywheel, preferably OEM, but a good aftermarket flywheel. Stator, I've only had OEM stators my whole life. I did put a Vito stator, and I've never had an issue with that as well. I will say Vito stator, I didn't have a problem, but they are hit or miss. You know, you can get something and it might not be great. I haven't tried anything like the Rick stator or anything like that. I haven't tried those. Definitely using the Uni filters. I love Uni. They're the best. Again, I need to polish the pipes because they had a heat wrap around them, and it just, there's a lot of crap there. So that's the only thing that's left to do to make this bike look absolutely beautiful. I did the break-in period. It took me like 30 minutes, but still it's showing 0 hours here because it'll only show a number once we hit the hour mark. So yeah. Another thing about these carburetors is they are the PWK carburetors. They're not the Keihin. They're a Chinese brand, this one. That's the only Chinese part that's on the bike, okay? But I like them. I've put the originals on here. For some reason, I'll keep the originals with the bike, and I'm gonna include the OEM with the bike. But for some reason, these work really, really well. I have endless jets for this. I'm not a fan of Chinese stuff, don't get me wrong. I don't recommend it. But for some reason, I don't know what it is with these PWKs. They've run flawlessly for a long time. So I really like them. Tires are not in the best condition, the rears, but again, driving it on street and stuff like that, I don't want to put good tires on it now because I'm riding it on the road. So if I put nice off-road tires, I'm just going to wear them out again. So there's no need, especially for the break-in period. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for the Banshee build. And yeah, it's looking great. And yeah, I doubt I'll get to drive this bike much because I just did it as like a project for me to build something. And yeah, a lot of people ask me if I build Banshees to sell or to flip. I don't really do that. I build for myself. I might sell this one eventually because I'm running out of space. And that's the only reason I'll sell. But a lot of people will not understand this bike. They'll look at it and they won't see +2, +4 in the back, or +2, +6 in the back. And they'll be like, oh, everything has been refreshed on this bike. Every single bolt, every single nut, every single bushing, every single seal, from the steering stem to the steering stem bearing to the bushings. Yeah, and we went through the engine. We talked about the engine, how everything inside is just top-notch parts. It's yeah, it's a special engine, this one, because it's I think from the engines that I've built, this one is really put together very nicely and will not cause any problems for the future. It'll last a long time. And with the Banshee, for me, that matters more than anything, more than the power, more than all the stuff. It matters that it's gonna last and it's not gonna cause me a headache, unless someone doesn't take care of it, because these bikes are very sensitive. Get the fuel to oil ratio correct. Make sure the jetting is good, because the jetting can really screw up the setup of the Banshee. And yeah, other than that, should be good to go. Definitely take care of the filters. Yeah, so that's that. Clutch, I will say, doesn't have the Magura clutch. It has the Pro Taper, or whatever this clutch is. It's a Pro Taper, but yeah, it's a little bit more stiff than the Magura hydraulic clutch. My other Banshee has the hydraulic clutch. You know, if I were to keep this bike long term, I think that's the only modification I would do, is the Magura clutch, because it just makes it so much easier. I'm not the type of guy that complains from the throttle. I like these throttles, the OEM Yamaha throttles. First of all, they're the most expensive to get, you know, and to get them in good condition or brand new, it's the best thing. This one is almost in perfect condition. I don't complain from the arm pump issue there. I like it. So even on my Banshee, I have the OEM setup. I don't mess with that. I don't like to put these cheap looking aftermarket throttles, unless I would go with something like my Raptor, like a Hermosi or something like that, probably. If you're gonna trail this bike, if the bike is gonna be going to like hardcore trails, I would invest in a steering dampener, because I even on the new bikes, you know, whether it's the old bike or a new bike, I would still go with a steering dampener, because it gets a little rough if you don't, especially if you clip a rock or a tree branch or something, log. Yeah, anyways, that's it for this. I will say that also something special about this Banshee, which even my Banshee doesn't have, is the fact that the swing arm bolt, and this is super hard to find, is the original, which can be greased from both sides. This is crazy. This is super hard, and if you find it, good luck finding it in excellent condition where it works. So you can grease the swing arm bolt from the outside. You don't need to disassemble it and assemble it again. So it's not like any of the other stuff that you find on, you know, the Vitos and even Racetech and all those companies that provide the swing arm bolts. They're cool, they're trick, they can be titanium and or whatever, but you cannot grease them. They're completely different. So this is actually a very nice advantage to this bike compared to even the bike that I'm going to be using most of the time. So yeah, this is an interesting build, I would say. Trying to, again, keep it as OEM as possible. A lot of people get rid of these plastics because they tend to break a lot. Thank God mine are in perfect condition and, you know, great on both sides. I had to remove the FMF stickers here, which I don't really mind because I like the chrome finished look. And anyway, they're stamped here, so the power core exhausts are obvious, and that gives me more room and more ease to polish the quad. So yeah. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video of this Banshee. I know it's not a full step-by-step detailed build, but it's just interesting to see it, you know, go from a frame all the way to the finished product here. And yeah, I do want to take one final video of this when the exhausts are a little bit polished, because I don't like how they look like that. They should look crispy and, you know, kind of like those over there. They shouldn't look rusty, or they shouldn't have some layer on them. They're not really rusty. This is, again, the exhaust is fine, because sometimes you can have the rust eat away inside. This is not like that. They are rusty here, but this can all be washed off. So that's what's going to happen.